audience today is perfect for our next guest. They're going to weigh in on that sound off as well as our guest. He's a Morning Blend regular who counsels young people. Dr. John Duffy has a lot of great advice for parents who want to do a better job of raising their kids.
It's not easy because kids have constant access to technology, right? And Pokemon and stuff like that, and a high level of pressure to succeed and do well in school. Dr. Duffy is a clinical psychologist, best-selling author, and national speaker on relationships, parenting, teens, and families. He wrote this book. It's an awesome book. It is The Available Parent, as a guide for parents to raise healthy kids in today's world. We're super excited to see you
here.
Super excited
What do you want to say about Pokemon?
It's not, I agree, it's not all bad. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of community building around it. And in these times that are so troubling, there's a lot of people out there just wandering the streets having a great time and connecting with one another.
And they were coming together as a group. It was an interesting concept.
It really is. It really is.
Well, it's a way of using their phones because they're going to use it, but also being outside and connecting. I felt like Paul was a little defensive about Pokemon, though.
I think a lot of young men are going to be very defensive about Pokemon.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Yeah. All right, so we got a whole audience of teachers here today, and so we kind of want to hit some teacher sort of topics, starting with standardized tests.
Yeah.
Because these are something that start really young, and people feel a lot of fear and anxiety about tests. A lot of students do these days. So how do we address some of that and get kids and teachers kind of on the same page about these standardized tests?
Well, for kids, I think we want to break the test down. I don't know if I'm curious to hear if you guys agree with me, and kind of take it question by question instead of just catastrophizing the whole test, you know. And we want to put it in perspective for kids so that it's not kind of like, you know, this is the end of your world if you don't do well on this test right now. It's important. We want you to do your best. For teachers, for you guys, and the stress that you guys experience.
Because they have pressure too.
Oh my gosh, and I so hate that you have to teach to these tests, and I hope that that's not kind of the long run view of education, but for now, I hope that that is an abbreviated part of your work and that you can spend most of your time teaching what you know your kids learn best instead of always teaching to the test.
But it's all about the test. And I think
scores.
sometimes those scores, teachers and how they're teaching is measured by, because I think a lot of kids feel like, oh, this is my ACT score, or this is my, I don't know if they still do Iowa Basics, but there are a lot of different, you know, map testing, whatever it is. It's like, this is how smart I am because I got a 30 on my ACT, or I'm not smart because I got a 19.
Yeah, we need to change that dialogue because these tests effectively measure how well you take the test and maybe how tenacious you are about studying for the test, but it really doesn't measure intelligence, exactly.
Or common sense, for example.
Or common sense, right. So there's a whole bunch of different types of intelligence that the tests don't touch at all. And so we want to let our kids know that. And we want to teach to a bunch of different types of intelligence, not just the intelligence that's, you know, kind of mapped out on the test.
So do you think there's too much importance placed on these tests, whether it be for school, for whatnot?
Way, culturally, collectively, we have made a monster of these tests. You know, if you think
teachers nod if you think yes.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, that's interesting that they think so too.
They have no voices because they're not mic'd.
They're not
so
mic'd
the only way we can see you is by your facial expressions or your applause. It's the only way we know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right. So these tests become ridiculous and they become the sole metric for success for you guys, for students, and
for parents, because you're a good parent if your kid does well on these tests. But I also want to hit on anxiety because we've talked about it before on the show, but I think teachers are in a position very often to function sort of like counselors because there are a lot of kids who have significant anxiety, can't show up for school, get ill at school, all these kinds of things because of the pressure they feel.
This is true. There is an epidemic of anxiety among young people now, and it's just getting ramped up more and more. Academic pressures, social pressures, familial pressures, they all build up in kids. So we all have to be cognizant, everybody in this room, every parent listening, that our kids are more anxious than we were. There's more data coming at them faster than there was a generation ago. So we have to be aware of that, and we have to provide them methods for managing their anxiety, for keeping calm. in really, really hectic, frenetic times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's kind of switch gears a little bit and move to social media,
Yeah.
cell phones. And how do you think that, you know, parents can better manage the use of their child's cell phone? One of the things Molly's recently doing is moving the cell phones out of the bedrooms at night, just in terms of like sleep, right?
Yeah, they all have alarm clocks now. It was after a conversation I had with you. They're not super happy about it, so
No.
it's not making me super popular, but I think it's going to be really good for all of us.
It is. We do it in my house too, and I work with a lot of client families who do it. If you think about if you were 15 today and you had access to an iPhone and everything it can do, you know, at 2 in the morning, if you heard a little notification,
Yes.
you'd want to check that thing, right?
It gives you that like anxiety when you hear
Yes,
it. Even
yeah.
at 36, I'm like, I
Right.
can't put it
Who's
down
texting
at
me?
night.
They
Yeah.
emit this anxious energy. Even if you put it on silent,
Yes.
it's there, and you know it's there. If it's down charging in the kitchen somewhere,
It's different.
It's out of sight, out of mind, and it's kind of anxiety management. It's really good self-regulation
Okay.
to be able to put that thing down for hours at a time. It's really good for kids, and they don't know how anxious they are until they do it.
And I
Until
want
they
to talk,
release themselves.
yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about social media bullying and some of the other things
Yes.
that we touch on. But because we talked about kids waking up, or excuse me, parents waking up kids and cell phones and all
Yeah.
these things, let's break it down for us. Is it by age? Whose responsibility is it, in your opinion? Because you talk to kids every day in your
Yep,
office who
yep.
share stuff that maybe they never say to their parents.
Right.
Your thoughts?
Okay, so if parents are willing to wake up kids and coddle kids and do their laundry, any
Paul, look at Paul.
Paul, that was not a comment on you, I promise.
Sure was. Yeah,
Any self-respecting teenager is going to let their parents do that, right? This is savvy, right?
Yeah.
But
It's
it's
okay,
not a good
Paul.
answer.
We
It's
love
not
you.
a good answer for the kids, right? Because of the competence, resilience, all those things that make us know we are capable in the world. We're not learning any of that stuff. We're just learning I can get mom to do stuff, you know? And eventually that runs dry.
Well, because it's not once. If you've got a kid, you're waking up, especially as they get to high school, you're going, hey, 10 more minutes. Oh, hey, 5 more minutes. Hey, 2 minutes. You get out. Now you got to get out of bed.
Then they blame you if they're late.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you're bargaining all of a
Yeah.
sudden. You're losing.
Where's
Once you're
the
negotiating, you're
responsibility?
losing, right? And it gets worse over time, right? I don't know
So
if you've
how
run
do you
into
keep
this.
them accountable, but yet make them responsible?
Yeah, I think you start early as you can, and you let your 8-year-old know, okay, it's your job to get up in the morning, and
Okay.
you have to let natural consequences fall sometimes. So it might mean, oh, the car left without you. You know, we're not gonna come back and get you. So I don't know what you're gonna do. It looks like you're gonna have to take a tardy for today or something. You know,
Well, we had a parent on the show. Her kid called Uber.
Yeah, that's right.
It only cost $4 to get to high school, so he called Uber when she left.
him.
and we can downplay the veracity of that all day long, but that's pretty clever.
It
Like that's
is,
pretty
it's
good problem
resourceful.
solving, right?
Yeah.
That's resourceful.
But as my friend, I've got a friend who's got a 16-year-old not getting up, not getting to school. Just the parents both work, so they're out of the house. Social services have now had to step in, saying you as parents are not doing your job to get your 16-year-old to school.
Right.
So therefore, then it's still the parents' responsibility,
Yes,
and they're now being watched.
Yep. Law enforcement, those community police will come to your house. I don't know if you guys will agree with that, but 5 years ago, school refusal was not something I was ever dealing with. Now, I'd say I'm dealing with 7 or 8 kids every week that refuses to go to school.
Yeah.
And that's an anxiety-based thing where it's like, I'm not comfortable there either socially, academically, I feel over my skis. It's not just this behavior. There's underlying issues underneath the behavior that we have to address.
So it's truly a different day and age than when we grew up.
Oh, so completely. If you think about just the data, the data surrounding our kids, their lives move faster. They learn about things they shouldn't know at younger ages than we did, and we have to be cognizant of that as parents.
We're going to have you stick around, but just really quick, a word or two comment about bullying online.
Yeah.
And what, if anything, you think can be done? I know this is a long answer, but just real quick.
I'll be quick.
We'll touch on it again later.
Right. So for parents, maybe for teachers too, ask what it's like amongst your peer group, specifically for you. Are you being bullied? And listen to your kids. If they say they're being bullied, they probably are. For those of us who work with kids, you can see the look of helplessness in their eyes and the desperation, and you want to hear them out at the very least.
What if you've got the bully?
if you've got the bully, you might even have a bullied kid, so you want to listen to that kid too, because there's dimension to this. It's not as linear as we like to think it is.
Yeah, it's not that big bully at the playground that we used to see, and all the little kids who are, you know, kind of nerdy or whatever are the victims. It's very different nowadays.
It's more online now, and more girls than boys now. So it's changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Great to have you. You're going to stick around. I want to give some information because people are going to want to learn more. drjohnduffy.com is Dr. Duffy's website. You can visit that site too, and his podcast is available on iTunes. If you visit that site, you can subscribe from there too. You will also find video tutorials called Parent Better Now. Dr. Duffy is also going to stick around, like we said, and take questions live from our teachers. I bet they have a lot. So thank you so much.
Thank you.